Jared Mccain the Rookie of the Year? Jared Mccain has taken over and he is going for that award. He said it himself. He is the Rookie of the Year. He's leading his draft class in points per game at 16.5. By the way, I'm wearing my merch. If you don't have any merch, make sure you click the link in the bio to get some. He also had his 8th consecutive game of 3 or more made 3-pointers, which is the longest streak in NBA history for any rookie. He also is in elite company with Allen Iverson and Jerry Stackhouse and his teammate Joel Embiid. He's the 5th Sixer rookie to have at least 5 games with 20 points. Before the season started, I don't know if any boards had Jared Mccain winning Rookie of the Year. And fair enough, he technically wasn't supposed to get this much playing time, but because the Sixers have so many injuries, he's getting a ton of minutes. But he's taking advantage of those minutes, and he is putting on a show. I believe he dropped 30 tonight, and they won against the Brooklyn Nets. And they don't have Joel Embiid, and they don't have Paul George. I believe Maxey came back today, but still. While Sixers fans may be disappointed with how the season has started and frustrated with the fact that they may not end in a championship, the bright spot is Jared Mccain looks like he's part of your future. Sure, it's early on, but the same thing with Tyrese Maxey. When he got playing time his rookie year, he went and basically dropped 40 all of those games. I'm exaggerating a bit, but I remember at the end of the season, when the season was already decided and the Sixers had locked up their playoff spot, Maxey finally got a bunch of playing time. And I remember at least 2 games where he had like 30. And so now we get to see what Jared Mccain will do and can do, but in early minutes because, again, the Sixers have so many injuries. And you'd like to think that the East, the way it is, the Sixers could make a comeback to get back into the playoffs if Joel Embiid comes back soon and stays healthy. And then we'll see how long Paul George is out, but hopefully when he comes back, he stays healthy. Because altogether, the roster is very nice. Like, we know what Maxey is, Paul George, Joel Embiid, and I like the players that they also have around the roster outside of Jared Mccain. They have a decent roster, so there's no reason that they can't go on a big run and make the playoffs. And I actually just saw a stat that over the last 7 games, Jared Mccain has averaged 26 points on 50, 40, 90 shooting splits. It was like 45 from 3 and 96 from the free throw line, but like I'm saying, he's having a 50, 40, 90 7-game stretch. I talked about this in the last video with Steph Curry. There are only like 10 players in NBA history to ever have a 50, 40, 90 season. Now, I'm not saying he's going to have one of those, but the fact of the matter is he is putting on a show and he's doing it efficiently. Can you imagine what it would be like if Joel Embiid and Paul George were there and he was doing something similar to this, plus Maxey? The Sixers would be crazy. You never want to see your star players hurt, but sometimes in a way it's a blessing in disguise because now we get to see, and the Sixers get to see, what Jared Mccain can actually do in big minutes. And now he's probably solidified his spot in the rotation. Whereas before, if everybody was healthy, I'm sure he would have gotten some minutes because they wanted to see what he can do. But who's to say he would have been consistently in the rotation because he might not have had consistent minutes to start, and sometimes it's hard to get in rhythm if you're in and out of the lineup. We see it all the time in the NBA. An injury happens, and another player steps up, and then they end up discovering what that player can do, and then it ends up turning into a full career. And he was the 16th overall pick, so he was a first-round pick. He was supposed to be, and obviously is, talented. But this is why we always talk about sometimes the best players are not even found at the top of the draft. Yes, Victor Wembanyama, for example, was the #1 pick. He deserved it, and we see how amazing he is so far. So I'm not saying that you necessarily get a better player later in the draft, but sometimes it works out that way. You can go all the way to Jokic, who was a 2nd-round pick. If you don't know, Jokic was a 2nd-round pick. Jokic, the 3-time MVP of the league. It just goes to show that where you fall in the draft doesn't necessarily determine your career. And I feel like we see that more and more nowadays. But Jared Mccain is putting on a show. Look out for him.